Hey, everybody, this is Ken Tucker with Changescape Web. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. Today, I'm joined as usual by the mysterious Mr. P, Jen, and Ian. So, hey, Paul, how you doing?
Hello.
Today, we are going to be talking about something that maybe some of our watchers and listeners don't really do much with yet, but it's a really important element that I think you need to look into for your marketing, and that is the use of landing pages. Landing pages are specific types of pages that are created for specific purposes. So we're going to kind of unpack that today and talk about the key elements that you should consider when you're using landing pages, when to use them, how to use them, what should be on them, those kinds of things. They play a critical role in conversion, and as such, they warrant different design considerations than what we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the homepage design. Some of it may be very consistent or very much the same, but there are different considerations. Really, landing pages are all about getting your visitors to take action. You want to keep them laser focused on that action. And so we're going to discuss what a landing page is, what should go into it, and how to create good landing pages. So welcome, guys. Ian, I'm going to start with you. When should you consider a landing page? And maybe even before we get into that, should we talk about what a landing page is?
Sure. They combine well, those two discussions. So a landing page is a web page, and it's usually designed, just as you said, with one purpose in mind. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about this, but really you're just trying to offer a visitor one call to action, one key focus of, usually it's a a value exchange of some sort, where let me describe a use for it, or the main use for it, and I think it'll become clear. So usually landing pages are used, and it's a best practice to use them for advertising. And the reason is that when you draw someone through an ad, you're presenting them with a very specific call to action. For example, you may be a real estate agent and you may be offering a seller's guide or a seller's checklist that will help them prepare their home to sell it. And so you're offering them something of value. You want them to come to your, your landing page. You want them to understand clearly from the ad and then the landing page what it is that they would get. And you want to make it super easy for them to act on that. So you don't want a nav bar like you would normally have on your website. You want one call to action, which is, yes, I want the PDF download. I want the checklist. I want the ebook. I want the free webinar, whatever it is you're offering, the value exchange. And then the real key call to action is usually a form. And at its simplest, it's your name and email, right? You're trying to make sure that the value exchange is appropriate for what you're offering. And so landing pages have one single call to action. Usually they're for advertising, but you can also use them for things like live events. They're fantastic for that, where you're at a trade show. You want the people that come to your booth to take a specific action. And so a landing page is fantastic at that. And you can customize the landing page specifically for that event, which obviously creates continuity, because that is the key of a landing page. You want continuity from the ad or the place that they first get introduced to it, into the landing page, into the call to action, and then what happens after that. Speaking events, networking events, a promotion, a restaurant offering something, value add, come 5 times and get a free something. And you might want to do that through a landing page sign up form.
Yeah. So, a couple of things there. One is just curious, what are your thoughts about, you said name and email address. Do you like to separate first name, last name? Or do you just want to have one field that's that's just name?
My preference is always keep it as simple as possible. So usually it's full name, but as long as the caveat to that is that your CRM, your email system that's on the back end sucking that information out, needs to be able to split out a full name into first and last. That's my only caveat to that. So a lot of systems do that now automatically. But yeah, because you're going to want to have the first name separated out, because you'll actually use that first name more than you'll use the last name in follow-up emails like, hey, Ian, thanks for
Yeah.
downloading our guide.
Yeah,
Right?
personalization. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing went out of my mind, so maybe it'll come back.
Sure.
Let's say, oh, I know what it was. So you talked about you might even create different landing pages, and customize that landing page for, if you're going to 3 trade shows, you might customize it for each one of the 3 trade shows. One of the things that we do is, it's great because if you're using a good system, you can clone that page. So you don't have to start from scratch. You've already got a well-designed page that hopefully is working, and we'll talk about how you can figure that out here in just a second. But since it's, we've talked in the past about this concept of duplicate, page content. For landing pages, you don't really care about that. You should be setting your landing pages to no index, I think, is the best practice. And then you can clone the heck out of them. You can make as many copies of them as you want, for different purposes. And you already have 80% of the page done. If it's a good landing page, now or maybe even 90%, all you're doing is changing the title of the event, and maybe everything else is pretty much the same. And, maybe just very slight customization to make it more specific to that event. So is that what you guys do as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. And kind of another layer of sophistication, if you really want to get fancy, and of course you get fancy to increase conversions, not to be fancy. And that's to use dynamic content. So you can actually have it so a landing page is dynamically fed from the ad they see. So if they see an ad for, e-commerce, you see this all the time. If they see an ad for Nike Air Jordan, whatever the latest shoe is, when they click on that ad, it can actually use one landing page and present dynamic content related to that specific product. And of course, you can do that with other types of businesses as well. If you had multiple, lead magnets, you could do the same thing. It's just, does the sophistication, is it easier to clone the page, or does it make more sense to do the dynamic content? But there's kind of different levels of sophistication you can go to for sure.
Well, and also the cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the personalization, like, you can, for example, I use product as an example, but you could even use dynamic content in such a way that you know from their IP address where they're located, right? So you could say, you could actually customize and personalize the landing page to fit their geography or some other aspect, which again, it's all about conversion. So if that raises conversion, which raises the value to the business, then sometimes that makes sense.
Assuming the IP address reveals the proper location, because it's
for sure B2B, it works really well. B2C, not as well.
Right. So Paul, let's move to you. How important is it that the landing page has a clear message and a clear call to action? Ian kind of talked a little bit about this, but I really want to drill down into this. And also Ian did talk a little bit about navigation. Just talk about your thoughts in terms of what navigation, if any, should go on a landing page.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely important to have a clear message and call to action, because that's why you're sending them there. It's like running a pay-per-click campaign and sending them to your homepage. It's stupid. Doesn't make sense. You should never do that. So yeah, that's absolutely important. The navigation, I agree with Ian, you don't want it up in the header, but I think that depends on what stage of the buying journey they're in, because you can drive people to landing pages at different stages of the buyer journey. And if they're at the top of the marketing funnel that we talk about all the time, I would at the very least put some navigation in the footer, because at that point they may just be checking you out and seeing, maybe they never heard of you before. They clicked on an ad, but they've never heard of you before. Are you a scammer? Are you legitimate? So provide them like Ian said, you may not want it up in the header, but people are used to scrolling. So put some navigation in the footer so that they can go look at your website if that's where they are in the buyer journey. Now, if you're at the bottom of that funnel, I would probably not have any navigation at all, because at that point they are they're ready to make a buying decision and you want them to take action. So you're definitely going to have different landing pages for different stages of the buyer journey. And like I said, if they're at the top of the funnel, then I would put some navigation in the footer at least.
So, Ian, you said one call to action. What do you guys think? Is one call to action?
Well, now when you say one call to action,
On the particular landing page?
well, I would put the call to, I think what Ian meant was call to action to do one particular thing. Is that what you meant, Ian?
That is what I meant. Correct.
Yeah, so I would
So it could
definitely
go up multiple times on the
right,
page.
exactly. I would definitely space that call to action, multiple times throughout the page. Now, one thing I know when you were talking about the landing pages and setting them to no index, and cloning them, you should also, if you're cloning a page, so let's say you have a page on kitchen remodeling and you clone that and you use that content for a call to for a landing page, and you set that to no index, you should also set the canonical URL, because no index does not mean Google will not crawl it. No index means that Google will not show it in their search results, but they're still going to crawl that page. And if you set a canonical URL, then you're telling Google, okay, this, and Google's not stupid. As much as Google pisses off sometimes, they're not stupid. And they know, they're smart enough to know, okay, this is a landing page. Here's the canonical URL. We're not going to index it, and we're not going to look at it as duplicate content.
What's a canonical URL for our listeners?
Okay, that tells Google, like I said, okay, you have a kitchen remodeling page and you clone that and make some changes, do different things, and you use those for landing pages. What you're telling Google is the canonical URL, this is the original source of the content, and that's what you should use in your search results. And the no index tells Google, don't index this page, don't show it in your search results, but here's the original source of that content.
Okay, cool. Jen, let's go to you. So one of the great things about landing pages is that you can, like I said, if you design them right and you have the right tool set, you can make copies of these, you can clone them, or you can, do a variety of different things. There's this concept we talk about in the world of marketing called A/B testing. Can you talk about what that is and explain what A/B testing is?
Yeah, sure. So I've got A/B testing prepared, and then some of the different elements that you could A/B test on a landing page. So A/B testing refers to, and it's a neat thing we can do in marketing, and you can do it pretty quickly as well. What it refers to is this page going to get more response, or is that page going to get more response? And by changing some of the content, either videos, images, copywriting, colors, layout of a landing page, sometimes one will garner more response than the other. And it's a way to figure out which one will get the most response. And then that is the one that you would use for your real campaign. So A/B testing, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And we do this a lot when we're getting started with email marketing. I know that's kind of a separate topic. But the thing is, kind of like any survey or any polling of people, you have to have enough traffic, enough audience to make a difference. So if your landing page is getting pretty low traffic, having an A/B test might not be the best thing to do. You want to do that where you have a significant amount of traffic, so that the difference really is apparent to you. So A/B testing, it just, is it version A that we're going to go with, or version B that we're going to go with? And the thing is, when you're doing this kind of testing, you want to change just one element at a time per test. Otherwise, if you're changing the image and you change the color, and then say your A test outranks your B test, you don't really know, was it the color change? Was it the image change? What was the element that really worked for us? And so there's 5 elements on a landing page that you can change. And again, you want to change them one at a time. And here they are with some examples. So number 1 would be headlines. So just like when you're writing a blog post or an article, you can come up with a few different headlines, and some are more catchier than others, and you want to test that as well. So you would put up one landing page with one version of the headline, one landing page with another version, see which one got the most response. Whatever gets the most response, that would be your winner. Number 2 would be calls to action. So what is it that you're asking the person to do, and where is that call to action placed on the landing page? So, you pick up one for version A, one for version B, test that out, and see which one is the winner. Next element you can change or test would be images. So either the actual images could be swapped out, the size of the images could be swapped out, whether you're doing color, black and white, that kind of thing. That would be another element to try. Number 4 would be testimonials. So any kinds of great reviews and testimonials from your clients. How you would test that is one landing page would have the testimonials and one would not. So the test there would be, does that third party sort of validation, does that help your audience take the next action that you're after? And then the last one, and probably one of the hardest things to test, is landing page copy. And I just say hardest thing because when copywriting is done well, it's probably like when art is done well. You just think, oh, I could have done that, right?
Yeah.
You read and everything flows together and makes sense and sounds on brand. But as anyone knows who has written it, it's tough. It's a real skill, and worth investing in to get a real copywriter. So what you'd want to test is copywriting A and B. So how do you test that? Perhaps there's a lot of copy to a little copy. Perhaps there's more humorous copy to more straightforward copy. Those would be a couple of examples of how to test landing page copy. So that's A/B testing for you, and those are 5 different elements that you can test. And again, test one at a time. Otherwise, you won't know what it was that tipped the scale in the favor of one of the tests.
Yeah. So a couple of questions. One is, do you have any notion of how much traffic is enough traffic to consider doing A/B testing? I mean, any rule of thumb? Anybody? I mean, does anybody have any idea about that?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
So the other question that I had was, or comment I had really was, I'm constantly amazed. And one of the easiest ways to see this in action is when you're doing Facebook ads. When you're doing a Facebook ad, you almost always want to use images, right? Because the images are going to be things that are catching people's attention. I'm constantly amazed when I pick images that it's like, man, I think this image is just going to nail it. This is going to be the top performer. And then I watch the performance of the ad over time, and it's like the image that I personally thought would kill it is the worst performing one, and it's or a poorer performing one than the top one. And so, it's fascinating to see. Don't, use science to the extent that you can to remove your personal bias and your personal preference, because unless every customer you have or client you have is exactly you, it's not going to perform the same way, right? So
yeah, you know what? I couldn't agree more on that, and we see that in other areas. Much like if we're looking at traffic for blogs and articles, it's 9 times out of 10. It's always on our sites, on our client sites. It's always the one where the client is like, "Really? What's so interesting about that article? Oh my God!" Right? And it's the best performing one, right?
Yeah,
So
it's fascinating stuff. Ian, how about this? let's talk about UTM codes. Is there any value? Is there any value for UTM codes? For a landing page. What is a UTM code, and how does that help you out?
Hang on, I'm going to Google what it means, what it stands for again.
And for
Well,
urchin
what
tracking module.
Universal. What is it called?
Urchin tracking module. It goes back to a company called Urchin that invented the concept, and Google bought them, and the name stuck.
All right.
And that's
So I can tell
why
you-
we always ask technical questions to Paul.
So I can tell you
That's your
why
nerd
you
moment
use
for the day.
That was awesome. I actually Googled it while just before you started talking, and I'm like, I thought it was universal tracking module, but it's urchin because we're tracking urchins. Everybody knows,
Yeah.
in the ocean. So the reason you would use a UTM, first of all, a UTM code, what it is it's a bit of code that you can set up to mean certain things as an example, from your Google Ads, you can say, attach this UTM code to the final URL or web page address that you're sending people to. What the UTM code then allows your system to do, when I was talking about dynamic content, it actually allows your page, if you're using dynamic content, to see what the different codes are in that extended UTM code. So as I was explaining prior, if you wanted to geographically focus or personalize things, and your ad can pull that information out, put it in a UTM code, you can then use dynamic content to then present something different to people, the flag of the state that they're in or whatever it is. So it's really a way to use content or information from an ad, pull it over to a website. And sorry about my throat.
That's all right. Does it have any merit in terms of helping you track lead sources? If you're sending people to the same landing page from a couple of different sources.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. As an advertiser, that's one of the main uses we use it for, is we want to know where somebody is coming from. So if we have ads on Google, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it is, the UTM code can include the source, which is very valuable for us for tracking purposes, for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Paul might have some additional comments about that too.
Well, I put a UTM code example in the chat.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, really?
And so, yeah, it lets you, there's some standardized things you can track, sources where it came from. Medium is like, was it in the example, was it an email? And the campaign is whatever you're calling the campaign. And the content that's usually used to track, like, your call to action. Was it at the bottom? Did they click on a button at the bottom? Did they click on a button at the top? If you have a contact form, if you have two contact forms, was it the one at the top? Was it the one at the bottom? That's getting rather sophisticated to track that. But yeah, the UTM codes, it tells you, it helps you know where these things came from, what the source was, what the campaign was. If you're running two different campaigns or three different campaigns, and you're A/B testing those campaigns, that UTM code will tell you which campaign is performing the best.
And you can even have it apply the transfer in what search term somebody had entered in order to get that ad, which is pretty powerful.
Yes.
As an advertiser as well.
Yeah. So that's not, it's not necessarily a feature or a function of the landing page, but it's a critical component that, if you have the opportunity and the technical chops to be able to do it, it's going to add real value in terms of helping you track and identify the best performing pieces of your entire campaign. So Paul, let's get to you. This idea of social proof, or elements of authority, or expertise, are those appropriate to put on a landing page? And if so, you have any guidance on where those things ought to go?
Yes, you should absolutely have them on your landing page, because that's, it goes back to, we talk about reviews a lot and how important they are. And especially goes back to where they are in the buyer journey. If they're at the bottom of the funnel, so to speak, and you're on their short list, it's probably less important. Not that you shouldn't have them, but if they're at the top of the funnel, yeah, it's absolutely important, because that's one of the first things they want to know is this company legitimate? Do they know what they're doing? What kind of expertise do they have? What do their customers say? And as far as where they go, they should be spaced throughout the page, I think, but they should definitely be near the top, because that's one of the first, like I said, that's one of the first things people want to know, especially at the very beginning of that buyer journey at the top of the funnel. That's one of the first things they want to know is this a legitimate company? And if you show that at the top, if you put that way down at the bottom and someone's at the top of the funnel, they may not scroll down and see it. So yeah, they should definitely be on there, and they should be spaced throughout the page, but they should definitely be above the fold, as we say.
So you mentioned reviews. I mean, are there any other elements of authority or expertise, ways that you can demonstrate expertise on a page?
Oh yeah, testimonials, reviews, any kind of Facebook, any kind of social proof. If
Well,
a
what
video,
about like logos of customers you've done business
yeah,
with, or
yeah, other companies you've
certifications?
done business with. If goes back to reviews, but if you have a customer did a video testimonial for you, definitely put that on there.
Yeah. Obviously, any certifications or key memberships, like if you're a member of a chamber or Better Business Bureau or things like that as well, I think are also good examples of that. Jen, let's talk about something that's I think another piece of content that I think is important to go on the landing page, and that is really kind of the copywriting that addresses the value proposition. How do you write that good value proposition section of a landing page?
How do you write it? I know you're a
By
big
typing it, pen and paper.
what?
No, I'm just
Right.
kidding.
Oh yeah, right. You by the keyboard. Okay. Captain specific. All right. Well, when we talk about the value proposition, so what is your user? What is the person that is going to download or get whatever is on that landing page? Like, how is it going to change their life? How is it going to improve their business? How is it going to improve their situation? And this kind of, when we talk about changing your life and like all will be well, it's a silver bullet. I mean, I'm being kind of funny there, but there is going to be a change or a promise that your user is expecting as a result of using or reading or downloading the content that is available for them on that landing page. So all kidding aside, whether it's, they're fixing something within their house, they're fixing something within their business, they're starting to learn something about a concept for their business or for their client that they don't yet know yet, that is the change that they want to happen as a result of downloading whatever it is that you have for them on that landing page. The importance of having the value proposition there is that's the promise. You're going to remind them how their life will be better, how their clarity will happen, how their problem will be solved as a result of taking the next action. How do you get to that? Now, I know I haven't taken this, full disclosure, but I know, Ken, you're a big fan of and certified within the StoryBrand framework. So it is worth for all the small business owners out there, if you haven't done something like that already, really invest the time in getting very, very clear. And StoryBrand's a good way to do that. Very, very clear about the messaging of your company, the messaging and the value proposition will come out of that work. And it's the kind of thing that it is, the value proposition is the benefit that the customer gets as a result of interacting, buying, downloading some of the content. It should be on the pretty close to the top of the landing page, and it should be reiterated throughout the landing page so the customer is reassured that the next step will promise what you deliver. And that's the other thing too. While we make fun of, your life will change, it'll all be, roses and rainbows. The value proposition and what you're promising has to be something that you really can deliver. If it really is clarity, if it really is the best price, if it really is more information, don't be baiting and switching, don't be over promising. Whatever it is that you can deliver to make that user, that customer's life better, it's got to be tied in and legitimate to what you really can do.
Yeah, tied to the specific call to action that you're doing.
Yeah, you're right.
So for us, we do we do assessments. We do this total online audit, a presence audit, or some kind of a website assessment, for example. You want to explain how is that going to be beneficial if I give you my contact information and say, okay, yeah, I want you to do this for me, or even an ebook. I want to get a guide to the exact image dimensions for every social media platform. You want to explain, now instead of having to fumble around and figure out and upload an image and to find out that it looks like crap on the social media platform, now the right size as you're designing it to begin with. So it's going to save you time. It's going to make your images pop. You want to describe all of those kinds of things, as the value in advance, so that they can kind of visualize, okay, yeah, like you said, this is going to provide that transformation. It's going to solve this problem for me.
Yeah.
And so this kind of leads into it. The lead magnet is that thing that people, are going to the landing page typically to take advantage of. What role does a lead magnet play in the landing page structure? And then also just talk a little bit about the importance of like the title of the lead magnet or the service or the solution that you're offering.
Sure. So the role of the lead magnet is a common thread that should be running through your entire campaign, because again, we're talking about specifically the landing page, but the landing page lives in isolation unless there's an ad or social posts or organic traffic being sent to it somehow. You need traffic being sent to it. So the lead magnet is what will actually get you, first of all, traffic to your landing page, because that's going to be the carrot or the enticement or whatever term you want to use. But it's that magnet. It's the attracting factor that gets someone to first click on that ad, to first be brought to the landing page. And then once they're at the landing page, of course, the role of the lead magnet is to get them to act, to exchange value with you, to give you their email address and their name so that you can then nurture that relationship, offer more value, and move them towards through their buying journey to a buying decision, right? That's really why you would invest the time, money, and energy into a landing page, an ad campaign, a lead magnet. Excuse me. The title of the lead magnet is really important. Jen talked about A/B testing headlines and that kind of stuff. The value of what you call this lead magnet has to talk to the person, resonate with them about the value and the transformation that they're going to receive from this piece. And then, of course, you have supporting copy that supports that. But the title, just like subject lines in an email, the title is so important.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, Paul, when you're creating a landing page, very commonly you have a form where you're asking people to provide some information as that call to action. What are your thoughts in terms of how much information should you collect? What should you collect? I mean, what is the minimum information you should collect, and how much should you collect, and would that vary based on the type of lead magnet that you're providing?
I don't know that it varies based on the type of lead magnet, because the purpose of a lead magnet really is to get their information so you can remarket to them, really. And so I would say the minimum that you need, at the very least, you want their email address. I think you should get their name, because if you're going to put them into some kind of nurture sequence and you want to customize that nurture, that message, you're going to have their name. There's some sources that say you should just get an email address, and there's a lot of lead magnets that's all they ask for. But I think the problem with that is all you can do then, you send out a generic message. You can't customize it with their name, which I think is important. So I would say at the very least, first name and email. And I don't think that varies based on what you're offering, because like I said, the purpose is you're going to reach back out to them anyway. And then as you remarket them, as you do an email campaign, whatever you're doing, you can always get additional information later. But you don't need their name, address, phone number. You don't need all that for an email, or for a lead magnet. You just don't need it. And it'll turn people off. It'll make them less likely to fill it out.
So having said that, I mean, in my mind, like if you're going to get, and first of all, not every lead magnet is free, right? So there are some paid things that are low cost, but are very potentially high value for somebody, and it's a good way to try, to test people out to see if there's good alignment. So I guess the reason I asked that question is because I'm thinking, if I'm going to have a lead magnet on my website that is, a $99 marketing assessment, or a $249, whatever I might charge for something like that, I don't want to just do that for everybody. I want some pre-qualification to take place. So I may want to ask them some additional information, because one, if it's paid, then there's the concern that you need to deliver even more value because somebody's paying for something. So if it's a marketing assessment, I might ask for, give me your website URL, give me your Facebook page, give me, any other social media accounts you have, something like that. So I think I think it really just depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? I mean, in a kind of a landing page scenario where you're trying to get somebody to actually give you money to make that first small transaction, because once they give you money, it's easier for you to get them to spend more with you, to come back and be a customer with you again if they have a good experience. If that's your goal, then I think it's appropriate to ask for more qualifying information. We work with, home remodeling contractors, and, sometimes they're giving a free estimate, and to maximize the number of forms that are submitted, sure, you want to minimize the information you're asking for, but you need to kind of monitor that, engage that, in my opinion. And Paul, you may have different thoughts. I'd love to hear them. But it's like, if you're offering a free estimate, then sometimes maybe it's worth saying, what's your address? Because why even bother with it if it's not even in an area that you serve? What is the square footage of your property, or, how old are your windows, depending on whatever, home improvement project it might be. Really to make sure that it's a valuable lead, because after all, the whole purpose of a landing page is to generate leads.
Well, yeah, I guess it's just my thought process that if it's a free estimate, I don't look at that as a lead magnet. I look at that as they're asking for an estimate, and in which case, yes, absolutely, you're going to ask for a lot more information. To me, a lead magnet, and now what you said about some kind of paid consultation, that yes, that's different. But to me, a lead magnet is you're just trying to get your foot in the door, like you said. You're just trying to get them to do something, download a checklist, take a survey, whatever it is. And in those situations, I think the less information you ask for, the more success you're going to have. Now, yes, if it's a paid kind of thing, you can probably you can ask for more information, because I mean, if they're going to give you if they're going to give you their money, then they're probably going to be more willing to give you information. If it's if it's, like I said, downloading a checklist, taking a survey, then I think the less you ask for is better.
We have a general rule. We always look at this as a value exchange. So think of a scale, a balancing scale, where you put one thing on one side, another thing on the other side. We want that scale to be equal in this value exchange. And so I tend to side or consider things lead magnets to me. Oftentimes when we present the idea of lead magnets, people are thinking of a downloadable PDF. A lead magnet is an offer. It's anything I can offer as a business to you as a visitor that is an enticement. So for example, the higher the value I'm going to offer someone, the more information I'm going to ask for. Sometimes it's because the delivery of that thing requires more information. For instance, we offer a free local SEO report card. In order to actually fulfill that report card, first of all, the value of it is much higher than a PDF document. But then for us to actually fulfill that service to the visitor, we need a lot more information from them. We need to understand where they're located. We need to understand what the URL of their website is. We need to understand the true name of their business so that we can find it against their Google business profile. There's a bunch of other things that we need, but it's very clear that the value they're going to be getting is very high. So we always look at it as that value exchange. And as you said, Ken, like if you're offering, whether it's a paid or an unpaid audit or consultation or something like that, like we do occasionally, we offer free website reviews, right? And it's huge value, but we need a lot more information from the user. So I would always say ask for the minimal amount of information to get people to act, but as a business you want the maximum amount of information that will help you qualify them as a potential prospect.
Yeah. So really, I guess what I was trying to get to is there's not any one right answer. It really depends on what are you trying to accomplish and what is the nature of the lead magnet or the offer that is out there.
Yeah, and if you're finding that you're attracting people to your landing page, but they're not actually completing the form, then take out some of the requirements, right? Keep reducing it down to whatever's going to get people to act, and then you might have to do more on the back end of the funnel, but that's okay.
Jen, we haven't talked about the value of a custom thank you page, but when I think of landing pages, to me, it's not just a single page. I mean, it's a bundle of pages. Mm-hmm. The thank you page at a minimum. Can you talk about what a custom thank you page is, why it's valuable, and what you might be able to do with additional pages in the sequence of following your landing page?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. So to explain what a landing page is, so let's pretend the lead magnet is a downloadable PDF. Let's just go with that one. So as soon as you enter your information and click, the download, typically what happens is another page comes up that says, "Thank you. Your download is ready for you." And here's where there's all kinds of forks in the road. So a pretty low-level thank you page, and I'm sure we've all experienced it, is "Thank you, watch your email for the download. And so you're watching your email because you're in the zone to get this information right now. And I'm looking at my second screen, and the thing doesn't show up for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. And so in between that time, you as a user is wondering, did this work? How long should I wait? It didn't say. I don't have the information right now. I'm ready to, get on with my learning or take the next step. And, it's just stalled there. And the problem with that in that kind of process is you could lose the attention of your potential customer. Boom, they're off doing something else, and you kind of lost it there.
So what's your recommendation there?
The recommendation would be to have a very good custom landing page, which would mean in my case, which I would suggest, is that you have the downloadable item right there. So thank you, here's your item, as well as sending it to the email as well. So double duty on that. If they want to download it right now, there we go. As well, even though we talk about the funnel and the fact that not everybody's ready to buy right now, there will be a small percentage of people that are ready to buy right now. So what can they do right now to take the next step? There's also another bunch of people that are ready to take several different steps. So are they going to watch a video? Are they going to learn more about your company, about your offer? So your thank you page can lead them further down the funnel by showing them different information now that you've secured their interest in your downloadable content. So with the thank you pages, now I do know we just had this experience the other day. We were using a system and the thank you page that came out, frankly, this was on an email marketing system. It was not customizable, and it's a real disservice to your users in order to be able to, capitalize on their enthusiasm to take the next step. So anyways, all of that ramble to say a thank you page has to have the downloadable content available there. It's got to be sent to the email as well. If you have videos, if you have other pieces of content, if you have other information that can be on that thank you page to help the person come down the funnel, have that there as well.
Yeah. One thing too I want to add to that is, from a remarketing perspective, having a custom landing page where somebody's on that page, they're only getting there because they submitted the form to claim that that lead magnet. So now you might have somebody who hit your landing page but didn't submit the form successfully, and then you've got the people who did submit the form successfully, and that they did because they're on the landing page. They're on the custom thank you page. So now you can I don't know if I said that right. Anyway, you can target those two different audiences and run different ads to them, because one may have kind of got stalled. Think about an e-commerce. It's like, hey, you put this in your shopping cart, but you didn't, actually make the purchase, and then the others are like, oh, hey, how did you like these shoes? By the way, people who bought these shoes, they also kind of like to go buy socks, or whatever. So it's got real benefits there. I think the other thing too is, like you said, it's a really good way to move people further along through the the buyer's journey. And I know you and I, follow some people who talk about, if you're going to use some kind of a resource, especially something that people are going to have to take time to read, it's like one of the things I would do and have done and consider doing every time I create some kind of a PDF that somebody's going to have to read or review is, hey, skip having to read this and sign up to watch this webinar or this video, or you know what? Why don't you just go ahead and book an appointment and let's just kind of talk, and I'll talk you through what is in this PDF, and so you can do different things like that. So you can have a booking calendar on your thank you page, which is a really common practice that I do, to get people to say, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this. And it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I probably just ought to go ahead and talk to this guy. So there are a lot of cool things that you can do. Don't just stop at the landing page and take the easy way out and say, hey, thanks for filling out our form as a message that you display. You can do that, but that's really limiting yourself. Let's see. I've got a couple other questions. Oh, go ahead.
There's another reason to use a thank you page is for for tracking capabilities. There's a lot of sources out there that say, they'll say, you don't need a thank you page, just track the button click. Well, the problem with that is, what if you have required fields and they don't fill that out and they click that button? Well, Google's going to track that as a click. Then they go back and fill in the required fields and they click it again. Now in your analytics, that's going to show up as 2 conversions.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So here's one that I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on. And this is for all of you guys on the panel. How long should a landing page be? In terms of, number of words, I'm not exact number of words, but I mean, are we talking 200? We talking 2,000? Longer than that? Somewhere in between? What do you guys think?
My view is as long as necessary to in order to provide the person with enough information to act, right? So again, to me, it's the value exchange. If it's super simple and super clear, sometimes a great headline, an image of the lead magnet, and some bullet points of the benefits they're going to get is exactly all they need in order to act, because it's such a low value exchange. But if there's
like
a higher
for a
value,
checklist, for example.
yeah, if it's a higher value exchange, then especially with something paid, like you talked about, Ken, then I think you really need to offer the authority, support, the testimonials. This is I signed up for this. This is the result I got, right? So I think you do need to understand the value exchange, or go back to what Jen talked about with A/B testing. Do a short one, do a long one, see which one converts the best, and there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jen or Paul,
Yeah,
do you have any thoughts?
I agree with Ian. As short as possible. There was a study done recently. As a matter of fact, Ken, I think you sent it to me, that the shorter landing pages actually convert better. But again, it goes back to if what you're offering is a high dollar item, then you may need a slightly longer landing page or additional resources.
What I would say is, I would say shorter, but I would say just don't get in the way. I mean, remember how someone got to your landing page. There was an ad or an offer or something enticing, and they have decided, yes, I want that or I want to learn more. And so, stop selling. Give them what they've come for.
Yeah. Paul, I think the article you're talking about, if I remember right, didn't it say like kind of the sweet spot was like 200 words?
Yeah, I think it was.
That blew me away. I mean, Ian, I agree with you. If it's an ebook with a clear value proposition where the title of the ebook and 5 or 6 bullet points tell you exactly what you're going to learn when you get this ebook or checklist, I can see where 200 words or even less can work really well and be super effective. We've all seen, because a lot of marketers wind up buying a lot of different tools, we've all seen landing pages that are probably 10,000 plus words, and so it really does depend. I was just curious if you guys had any insights or thoughts. One last thing.
Hold on, I call those the beat you into submission landing pages, because you might have a little interest, and then usually there's a time sensitivity to those ones, right, and they just keep beating it into you, and nobody ever reads the whole page usually.
So speaking of time sensitivity, we haven't talked about that. So let's spend our last couple of minutes talking about that. Sometimes when does scarcity and urgency improve the performance of a landing page? If so, what are the scenarios where that might apply?
That's an interesting question, because I don't know. I guess if you actually enforce it over time, it can. But how often have you seen something, and I don't know, some commercial on TV where you have to do this in the next 10 minutes or the next 2 days, and then 3 weeks later you see the same thing, and you have to do this in the next 3 days, and you're like, yeah, whatever. So I guess it can, especially if it's a pricing thing and you have a countdown on there, but I don't know. For me, I guess for me it's not going to work. The scarcity thing for me isn't going to work.
I think it only works with discount or added value offers. I think for most lead magnets it doesn't work, right? But
yeah, it's more for offers for sure. So Ian, like one of the things I'm thinking is, a free teeth whitening, or $50. I don't know how much teeth whitening is, but let's say it's $100. You're doing it for $50. You might want to say, we're only doing 5 of these this month.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's legitimate because the business may only literally be able to absorb 5 more of those, but it's valuable to them to do it at that price because they want to get people in the door. Because if they're in the door once, they're probably going to come back over and over and over again. At the lifetime value could be massive. So I think when you think about if the lead magnet is truly an offer, you can say, hey, if you can buy this now and get it at this price, but if you wait until August 15th, it's going to go up to this price. A lot of people do that to launch, new products, to get as many people to buy and buy in, just to generate some cash flow so that they can take that cash and reinvest it. So there are a lot of good things to that. And it definitely, I think statistics show that scarcity and urgency do drive action. It just has to be aligned with the right lead magnet, as you said, Ian. All right.
Yep.
Any other last thoughts, guys?
Just one thing that I know we talked a little bit about the buyer's journey, but I just think that's really key for people to understand is that you should have a plan, right? You should understand what your landing page's role is in the overall lead funnel buyer's journey. And if you don't, you're not going to be as successful. So you really need to think through this process of, where in the buyer's journey does this ad, this landing page, this lead magnet, and the follow-up fit, and then plan accordingly. But your landing page doesn't live in isolation. So be smart about how you leverage it. And it can be exceedingly powerful in attracting people to your lead funnel.
Yeah. And we've talked about funnels, sales funnels, marketing funnels in past episodes. I just really wanted to make sure we drilled down specifically into talking about one of the most important aspects of that, and that is the landing page.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, go back and check, past episodes we've done on, the entire sales funnel, because the landing page isn't sufficient. You've got to have a traffic source. You got to have some kind of a nurture campaign. Really, none of us care. It's like, oh, wow, I got 500 downloads of this ebook and nothing ever happens because I'm not doing any nurture or follow-up. I don't think that's valuable for anybody, right? So, all right, cool. Well, thanks, guys. As always, if you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. Please go out there and review us on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, or any of the others that are out there. And we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.